Hi everybody, welcome back to my kitchen for Tasty Tuesday. And we are going to do a series of some of my favorite fish recipes, starting today with sablefish. If you don't know what sablefish is, you may have heard of it, but called black cod. It is not related to cod in any way, but 100 years ago, somebody thought that they needed to change the name of this fish to make it more appealing. The name sablefish actually refers to the very fine scales on this fish, which are almost like a velvety fur. Some countries, in some places in the world, it's also called butterfish. I think sablefish or butterfish is a way better name than black cod because it is a very firm yet moist, buttery, delicious cold water whitefish. I get my sablefish from the Wild Alaska Seafood Company, where I get most of my seafood. And this recipe is, I've only actually cooked sablefish one other way, but this particular recipe is my favorite, Miso Glazed Sablefish. And it's super easy, but you do have to have time to marinate your fish. You can marinate it for as little as 30 minutes or up to 3 days. I wouldn't recommend 30 minutes. 24 hours would probably be best. I'm going to marinate for 48 hours and cook it 2 days from now. So let me show you what we do first. Now, miso is a very important ingredient of this recipe, and I buy this product from Miso Master. It's an organic miso, and it's really firm, and it smells really nice, and it lasts forever in the fridge. I mean, like forever, like 2 years, you could keep it in your refrigerator. So I always have some miso in my fridge. I can't always find this at my local grocery. I've complained about that before. They don't always have anything that's even remotely or gourmet, but I do find it at a small little market in the adjacent town. So I have 1/3 cup of white miso. That's going into my little saucepan here. Then I have 1/3 cup of sake. Now, we don't drink sake. The only reason I have sake in the cupboard is for this recipe because I make it often. 1/3 cup of sake and 1/3 cup of mirin. Also, you can find this in the Asian aisle at your supermarket. And finally, 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Now, this is going to go on the stovetop. I have my sablefish right here waiting, but first I need to break down mostly the miso. That'll take a little bit of time with heat. Stir it a little bit as it goes, and we'll come back and have a look at it right before we put the fish in the marinade. So there is our miso glaze. I'm turning it down to a simmer. I've been stirring it, breaking up the pieces of miso. I'm going to give it 1 more minute, and then I'm going to set it aside. It needs to cool completely before we marinate the fish. We have our lovely miso glaze. It's nice and thick, smells really great. Now I have my 2 pieces of sablefish. I'm going to put them into this freezer bag. They still have the skin on one side, and that's okay. You can take it off if you want, but you don't have to. We are going to bake and then broil this fish, so we won't be flipping it. Now, I'm also going to take, let me grab I'm going to take about 1/3 of a cup of this glaze and hold it out, maybe even more like 1/4 of a cup. We're going to use that at the very end, and the rest of this goes into our freezer bag. has kind of a nutty scent. Miso is such a wonderful ingredient for so many things. Now, I'm gonna take most of the air out, seal it up, gently massage, because this is a pretty delicate fish. You don't want it to break up. And then I'm gonna put it in the fridge, like I said before, 30 minutes minimum, up to 3 days. Mine is gonna be about 48 hours before I cook it. And I will probably flip it once or twice, every once in a while when I open up my refrigerator and see it there. But mostly I'm just gonna leave it alone until I'm ready to cook it 2 days from now. We'll see you then. Hi everyone, welcome back to my kitchen, and our beautiful sablefish has been marinating for 48 hours. I took it out and discarded the marinade, and I have it on my cookie sheet here on a piece of foil that I put some Pam cooking spray on so that it won't stick. My oven is on 400 degrees. I'm going to put it in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to turn the oven to broil. So if you have one of those ovens like I do, where only one of my 2 ovens has a broil setting, be sure you put this in the one with the broil setting. So into the oven it goes, 8 to 10 minutes, and then we've got some other stuff to do while that's cooking. All right, let me show you how we pull this amazing meal together. This is such a great meal for company too. I highly recommend it. So on the stove top right now, I have some Rose brand Asian noodles cooking, and we got a couple more minutes to go. But into my skillet here on the stove top, we are going to cook our side dish. Actually, it ends up being the bottom dish the fish will set on top of it. I have some sesame oil. This happens to be pure black sesame oil. It doesn't have to be black, but we're going to put a generous amount, about 2 tablespoons, in the bottom of this pan. And we're gonna start with the bok choy. Now, I had 2 fairly good size bok choy. I cleaned them. I separated the stalks from the greens. We're gonna start with the stalks because they take a little longer. And I'm gonna bring that up to heat on saute on my stovetop. Okay, my bok choy stems have been sauteing for about 2 minutes. And now I'm gonna add these beautiful portobello mushrooms. Now, normally you would want to use shiitake mushrooms. I couldn't find shiitake, but these are gonna be just fine. Any kind of really lovely fresh mushroom would work depending on where you are. In those go for about another 2 minutes. Here's our bok choy stems and portobello mushrooms. And now it's time to add the garlic. These have been cooking for about 2 minutes now. I mean, a total of about 5 minutes. And the garlic is going to cook for about another 2 minutes. Okay, finally, we're going to add our bok choy greens to the mushrooms and bok choy stems and garlic that has been cooking for about a total of 6 minutes now. And the alarm is about to go off, the timer is about to go off. Whoops, there it goes. On our sablefish, which has been in the oven for 8 minutes on 400 degrees. I am now changing that to broil. And it's gonna broil for about 2 minutes. Okay, everything's coming together. The sablefish is broiling. We've got about 1 minute left. The greens and mushrooms are almost ready. Ooh, and do they smell great. And the noodles are cooked and done. And to the noodles, I'm going to add a little bit of sesame seed oil. Mix that around. And this is going to go into our bowls. On one side like that. A little bit more. Smells really good. On the other side. On the noodles, I am sprinkling some black sesame seeds. Can you see it? And on this one too. And one more minute on the greens. If you remember yesterday, we held out a third cup of our miso glaze. That third cup of miso glaze I just had on the stovetop, heating it up. It's not very much. And I just took it off, and as soon as we pull our fish out, I am going to add that to the top. All right, here is our beautiful miso glazed sablefish. I am putting just a little bit of glaze on the top of each one. And next, our greens and mushrooms. Our greens and mushrooms are going next to our noodles. And it's almost time to eat. And now, on top of each of these beautiful presentation goes one piece of sablefish. Just like that. This fish, it's not cheap. It's worth every penny. One of my favorite fish. So, we have beautiful sablefish, bok choy and mushrooms, noodles with sesame seeds and sesame oil. We're putting a little bit of green onions on our plate. And that, my friends, is a fantastic meal. Just for Arnie and I tonight, but perfect for company anytime. Hope you can get a good look at it. Beautiful miso glazed sablefish for Tasty Tuesday. One of my favorite fish. I hope you'll come back, and we'll see you then.